Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another behind the scenes of the viral murders. And we're going to be talking about possibly the most anticipated download of the week. Has anybody seen the Snyder Cut yet? Is that? No, obviously not. So, the viral murders episode. No, this is episode 3, part 2. Just come up, which is Grey's Anatomy Part 2. If you've watched that already, then you're good to go. If not, then do go and watch that episode before we start, because we're going to be talking about spoilery stuff in here. So if you haven't heard that first, then you really should. This was the episode where we've had another death, and Grey has died in this episode. And I suppose the first thing we'd like to talk about then is that death scene. Ruth, it was your death scene. How did you find doing that death scene?
It was... Actually, at the time when we filmed it, it was one of the funniest things, or one of the most enjoyable things that I've ever done. I've never actually been killed before. So that was a first for me. I feel that we got it on the first take. We did do it again, but I think the first take was the best because it was the most fun.
When you were recording it, did you think that it would actually end up being like it was, or you know, were you unsure about what was going to happen when the final thing was put together?
Oh God, no! I just said, look, I'm going to try something here, and we just went with it. And to be fair, Killer ran with it, and it just came out absolutely spot on. I think it couldn't have gone better. Right. For a first take, it could not have gone better. And
so what about the rest of the cast? Because we have most of the rest of the cast with us here. So Demelza, what were your thoughts on that kind of death scene from today's episode, from Friday's episode?
Personally, I really loved how, as Grey was dying, the killer was trying to, obvious narcissism was kind of coming out, was trying to make it their moment to will you stop dying so loudly so I can actually get this quip out? You're being so rude, and eventually just cut them off and did that. I thought that was a brilliant little part.
And talking about getting your quips out, there is a little bit of a competition thing here on this particular episode. One of the members of the cast that's with us tonight was actually in a Best Boobs competition, and we want you to try and guess by the end of the episode which one of them it was, and we will come to them later for an explanation of how the hell that happened as well. So what about the rest of the episode? What do you think about how things are progressing with the rest of the characters? Jess, what do you think about the different relationships that we've got with the characters at the moment?
I think people start to show the character a little bit more and start becoming a bit more I forgot the word again. Tactical, that was it. Yeah, people are starting to realise what's going on and want to play the game, you know. So you start to see that come out a little bit more, which is interesting.
And how do you think the game's going for people? Who do you think the kind of the winner is at the moment?
It's hard really to know at this moment. I think Pink does play quite a tactical role, but also she's so you're warm to her, so it's kind of like you're not sure what's happening there. But other than that, yeah, I can't really think of anything else.
And Dylan, what do you think about what were your thoughts about this episode? Because you did say something quite interesting before we started. I thought was,
for me, this is the episode where it becomes the Hunger Games, because everyone starts realizing the scope of this entire thing means they're going to die unless they start taking out anybody else, and this is where people start segregating and finding their right. Well, I want to vote against you. No, I want to vote against you, and so on. So this is the episode where everyone starts mistrusting each other and start playing against each other.
Talking about that trust thing as well, Tash was talking before we started about it being now becoming a rigged game. So Tash, why don't you tell us a little bit about the writing process at this point for this particular episode? You're coming into kind of Grey's death. How did you handle it? What things did you want to make sure were covered?
Well, one of the things I wanted to make clear is that, I mean, I think when we were sort of talking about the writing of it, and I think it was you, Steve, who came up with one of the ideas, you and George, who sort of said, wouldn't it be great if the killer tricked the contestants into thinking it wasn't real in that first day, and then like, oh, you can go free, and then they die on the way out. And that was kind of the inspiration behind Gray's death scene. It was like, right, okay. And it was kind of that thing of, I wanted to sort of show the audience that the killer isn't playing fair. They have something in mind. They have a goal in mind. And, you know, they kind of, when I'm trying to think about how to word it without giving it away. So obviously, when one of the things that the killer does is they say in a previous episode, whoever guesses the blackmailer gets to be safe next round. So of course, when Gray goes, oh, well, I guess it was me. Do I get to be safe the next round? The killer's like, next round, not today. You might die today. And it's just kind of like, no. And it kind of just shows the audience that actually the killer's not going to play fair. And I wanted to also show the audience that the killer really does want to mess with them. It's all about the mind games for that killer, and especially when the killer's talking to Gray at the end, where just before Gray dies, saying, you know, it's all a hoax. You can just go. And Gray's like, really? I don't trust you. So it's all, like I said, I wanted to make that clear in the writing to try and sort of get that across to the audience. That's what's really a priority for the killer.
And how do you do that? How do you find that, you know, layering that sort of stuff into a script? What's your process for doing that?
Lots and lots of editing. So it's a lot of research into sort of how, you know, manipulators will sort of play with people's heads and get them to sort of put them at ease, and then whip the carpet out in front of, you know, from underneath them. So generally when I'm writing it, I will have a sort of a document which I'll plan out, and I'll go, right, in this episode this happens, in this episode this happens. And then I'll sort of write a very rough skeleton script, and then I just gradually add to that, reread it through, add to it, and then edit and edit and edit until I've got something that kind of just feels right. Does that make sense? It's really hard.
No, it doesn't. No, I know what you mean. Yes, no, I know exactly what you mean. But yes, that does actually make a lot of sense. Now, all of the different characters going through their own journeys as they're stuck in their own rooms. Avadni, how do you feel that your character is coping at the moment? Because in the past we've talked about her being possibly more manipulative than she might come across. But what do you think? How do you think she's coping right now?
I think she's learning to cope very well. I think she's becoming a lot more manipulative than she seems. I think she's learning about the others. She's very good at listening to the others, but doing her own thing. And I think in her own mind, I mean, remembering that Gray is her sister, she's not that upset that she's gone. You'd expect her to be a little bit more. I mean, she obviously is aware of the fact that obviously her sister is blackmailing everybody. She's aware of the whole issue that her parents and family have had with her sister. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't still seem to care very much. And that sort of concerned me as an actor, desperately trying to get behind that thinking. Because although I don't get on with my brothers and sisters very well, I think I would be quite upset if somebody killed them.
Yeah, I expect
you know what
so.
I mean? She shows absolutely no emotion. And I found that very, very interesting. And hopefully that part of her character comes out more in other episodes.
I do think that's probably a thing. If you have a brother or sister, you don't really want them to die. Jay, when again, it's each character's got their own sort of journey. Where do you feel your character is now in relation to, what we've heard so far and the deaths that we've had so far and things? How do you think that they're coping with their lot?
I think he's still being very quiet, really, to be honest with you. He's not said much in this episode, and I think he's just trying to almost pretend he's not there. He's trying to think, well, if I just keep quiet, then I'm not involved. I'm not going to be dead. And I think that's the way he's playing it at the minute.
But obviously that's expanded in the coming weeks. But do you think, again, talking about manipulation, do you think that your characters, doing that in a very, you know what? Just has come to mind. Remember the very first series of Big Brother with Nasty Nick?
Yeah.
Just suddenly, it's just that's your character, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. I don't want to say too much, give too much away, but yeah, he comes into his own soon enough. Yeah.
And Matt, again, Yellow is a kind of a nasty piece of. He's the sort of the character that is nasty on the front end, and yet everybody else is kind of nasty as you learn more and more about them. So, how do you think your characters being portrayed at the moment? Do you think that it's right that everybody hates them, or do you think that there's something else that?
Oh, absolutely. No, he is a nasty piece of work. Yeah, too right. He really just doesn't care. He has no filter. If a character like falters in emotion or anything like that, he will exploit it. He's not afraid to speak his mind or his opinions. He's one of those characters who takes pleasure in other people, like just being like he just takes pleasure in it. People struggling.
And how do you think he's going to react, sort of in the next episode to the deaths that have happened so far?
To be honest, he to me looks like somebody who's just out there to win and gain that popularity that he's been seeking. Because the moment he found out that this was being like portrayed live, he was like, "Oh, hello! I may as well get myself ready for my adoring fans," that sort of thing. So he's one of those people who just really is in it to win it. So, and he's going to go to any lengths to do it.
And you say that, I've actually got a feeling that a lot of characters are a bit like that. It's just that Yellow is a little bit more, heart on your sleeve sort of. As a character.
He's very open. Yeah, he's not afraid to, speak his mind, and he's not afraid to admit to anything. Yeah.
And how do you feel, Demelza? How do you feel about that idea that your character is a little bit more than they're letting on right now?
I think it's actually extraordinarily accurate how people actually are. I mean, it's very rare that you'll meet somebody who is very upfront about everything. Everyone's got certain facets of their personality and stuff like that. And depending on situation, certain ones are going to get triggered and certain ones are going to reveal themselves. And this whole sort of situation actually builds it up quite well because they don't actually remember who they are. So it's kind of, well, they don't to begin with. As the memories come back, certain behaviours actually start to become more prominent, and the stress of the situation is also bringing those out. So it's actually an extraordinarily interesting way to sort of do that as a carrying kind of character study. And
what about the actual episodes themselves? How have you found this last episode? The edit of it, the kind of the technicality of it. Did you enjoy it? Did you what do you think?
I definitely enjoyed it. It's so much more interesting to hear the finished product because obviously, because when you're recording it, you can't, like, it says the sound effects on the script, but of course you just have to pause and say, like, count down so many numbers to however many so that they can put the sound bites that they require in. And oh my God, I have so much respect for the poor amount of work that must be done for this.
Dylan, sitting and listening to the episode, how did you find it? Was there anything that you either had forgotten that we'd done when we were recording? I mean, probably you haven't because you've had to record all your lines again. But
Yes,
because I was going to say that. Actually, he only did his last week, so consequently he hasn't remembered anything at all.
Or something perhaps in the script that you were surprised by when you actually finally heard it.
I enjoyed the process so much that I sabotaged my original recording. Listening to it is always a pleasure, just because you can hear everything put together and how it actually works. But for me, my personal highlight was Gray's part of the story towards the end, because as me and my wife were making breakfast in the kitchen this morning, it got to that bit and it's like, oh, shut my wife out of the way. Yeah, I've not heard this bit. Let me listen. So listening to that side of things, and also how all the characters start distrusting each other and trying to pull each other together at the same time as pull each other apart. It's very, very contradictory. But listening to Gray's side of the story, it's like, I didn't know we were going to go down this road. Oh, that's how it ends. Okay. I don't want to say too much on that, just in case. Let's be honest, though. If you're watching this episode and you're listening to it, you've missed the opportunity. You've actually spoiled it for yourself. So it's like when Gray dies, and it's like, oh, that's horrible. That sounds horrible.
It does. To be fair, it does sound horrible. I don't think anybody would want to go
it was great.
Like that at all. It was great.
I think in some ways, it's just that less is more, isn't it? So we can hear whatever is happening to Gray, but I've got full Sam Raimi special effects gore splattering all over the screen and huge buzzsaws for no reason whatsoever going off in my version of the script that's going off in my head.
Which I think is a good idea. I think that's a good idea. Jess, what about you? How are you finding listening to it now that because we've stopped recording a few weeks ago now, and it's just sort of listening back to it before we record these things. How are you finding the actual finished pieces?
Yeah, I think they're pretty wonderful. I've said before I love the sound effects and that on it, but I think this episode was probably my favourite one so far. I think it's the most interesting, and like I say, I think you kind of know a bit of information by now to really start to understand the characters. And it's just, Gray's death's really interesting, not in a weird way, It's sad, but I mean, it's interesting, like the way it's been matched up with the sounds and that. It sounds really realistic for just audio, doesn't it? So.
And I want to really give the final word here to Ruth again. Somebody who, this is your death week. We really should sort of celebrate that.
I think celebrated quite a lot in recording.
What do you think? What have you kind of taken away from this process that you're going to kind of keep with you for possibly for new different projects and things? What have you really going to look back on this project and go, yeah, that was the thing that I absolutely loved?
The best scenes are the ones that flow naturally, on the spur of the moment where just everything comes together. I will always cherish those moments where everything just seems to go right. And it's not just on me to bring that out. It's on the people working with me to pick, that pick up on what we're all doing together. And I just really, I can't tell you how much I appreciate the people that I've worked with on this project, because with some of them I've worked before, others I haven't, but I don't know, everything seems to gel really nicely. And that's what I'm going to take from this, is the fact that a project like this is a team effort. It's never about one person. It's not about a particular scene. It's about how everything fits together overall. And this has just been so lovely to work to, and so much fun all through.
Excellent. Now, before we go, we did promise you there was a little bit of a competition, just no prizes or anything, but you can give yourself a pat on the back if you guessed which one of the people featured in today's chat was actually in a best boobs competition. You have 5 more seconds before we are going to reveal who it is. 4, 3, 2, 1, and the winner, although apparently he wasn't the winner, was Matt. So Matt, tell us what
That's a best moobs competition.
what
I
happened?
think he's got the
How
best boobs in the cast, to be fair.
I am heartily offended.
So Matt, what happened? How were you in a best boobs competition? What went on?
Well, it was actually with my old theatre company, one that I've been working with for a while, the Loughborough Amateurs Operatic Society. If any of them are watching this podcast, or if they've been watching this podcast, hi guys, I'm missing you all. But what happened was it was during the production of The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. And what happened was we were in a group known as the Aggies, who go to the whorehouse after a massive American football game. It was, lots of testosterone and all that lot in the back and singing. And what happened was all of our costumes for the next scene were inside a trunk, like at the back, a box. And I went to get mine, and one of the other cast members, bless him, pushed me out of the way and grabbed it, and I was like, oh, there's none left, what do I do? And like a trooper, I just basically improvised this whole dance sequence topless, while the rest of my
Please tell me someone filmed this.
Please tell me they didn't.
Well, the rest of the lads were in their costumes. So yeah, basically, I went through that entire scene, completely topless. And at the end, they do at the end of every show on the final lunch before the finale, they do a silly jokes competitions for prizes for the show. You get really really cool ones like worst wig, or best or most milked moment, or various other ones like that. And then in this particular one, they had best boobs. And I was the only bloke nominated in the show, I will admit. And but I actually came runner-up in that competition to one of the ladies in the cast who was brilliant, by the way. It was a great show. I had great fun doing it. So yeah, that is the adventure that happened.
There you have it. And if you've ever been in a Best Boobs competition, then please do let us know in the comments below. Or if there's any questions that you would like to ask the cast in future episodes of Behind the Scenes, we will put your questions to them. Now, you can't ask who is the killer, because that's against the rules, but anything else pretty much goes. That's it for this particular video. Thanks very much for watching. Please do remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, because that really helps us. And until next time, thanks ever so much for watching. Bye everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.